Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to this edition of the Cartoon Flashback. And, I need that little bit of coffee. And as you can see, I'm here to talk about a show that's not really that old. As a matter of fact, it recently ended about 5 years ago. And I think it's heading for a decade in existence. And that is, of course, Kim Possible. Now, you take a look at a show like Kim Possible when it first came out, and at first you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to watch a show about a girl who saves the world and all that. But as you start to watch it and give it, as you start to watch it and you decide, hey, I'll give it a chance and see what it's about. And again, like I was trying to say, you start to watch it, all of a sudden you feel yourself being pulled in. You feel as though maybe you misjudged this show before it even came out. And I can tell you this, that was the obvious truth. Because I remember when this show first got introduced, was first being talked about and being promoted, that I too felt, well, it might be good, may not be good, I'll give it a chance. And while I was living in Lawrence, Kansas, even while I was working at Burger King when this first came out. I was in my final year there, surprisingly. But even when I worked there, then I transitioned, went to Hastings. Then after that, after a while, I went to Home Depot. And then finally, for a little over a year, I landed at Walmart. What surprised me was everybody, not just kids, but everybody from my age, if not a little younger, if not a little older, were talking about Kim Possible at times. And they were talking about how good of a show it was. And of course I went online to see if anybody else was talking about it. And lo and behold, you had site after site after site, major review site, major variety site, you had site after site talking about how good the show was. And there were even some people, and even I was one of them, that felt, hey, if this show would have came out if this show would have came out during the time of the Disney afternoon, it would fit in perfectly with the Disney afternoon. Because it has that style. And that's what I was talking about. And that's what I was talking about when I said, when you watched it for the first time and started to feel yourself being pulled towards it, in other words, being attracted to it and actually liking it, it's because you started to feel a familiar vibe. You started to feel and sense a familiar vibe, and that vibe is known as the Disney afternoon vibe. That's what it was basically giving. That was the kind of vibe it was giving to you, because it was a show that you knew was worthy of being part of the Disney afternoon. And I don't think anybody could deny that. Hold on for a second. Gotta check something. Sorry about that, folks. Hope you enjoyed the bird in the background. Now, I thought my mom had shown up. Usually she'll call before she comes home. But anyway, you felt that kind of a vibe coming from it. And it was just so good. I mean, every episode, there's no denying, was good. It basically was given the opportunity to do something that rarely any other Disney show, animated or not, has ever been given. And that is to go beyond the standard 65, 64 episode requirement. And that's exactly what it did. And it was actually one of the first animated ones that I know of, that actually followed the characters as they progressed through high school. One of the rare Disney shows to do that. animated-wise, that is. Because when it first started, they were freshmen in high school. Second season, sophomores. Third season, juniors. Final season, seniors. So basically you had a progression. And that was really cool. That was a unique perspective about it. But what also made it unique was the characters that were a part of the show. I mean, you had Kim, of course. You had Ron, and you had Rufus. Three of the most popular. And then, of course, you had the side characters, like, say, Monique, who we got introduced to, I think, later on in the first season into the second season. You got introduced to Wade, who was a major, kind of like a major minor portion of the show. And of course you had the parents, you had the family, you had great interaction there. They all offered something. You had to you kind of saw that they weren't your typical family. I mean, here you had the father that was a scientist, a genius or something like that, and that gene of his, that scientist genius gene of his, gets passed down to the sons. To his sons, basically Kim's little brothers, Jim and Tim, who are basically prodigies, if you will, child prodigies, geniuses, at a young age. And of course, you can't go without the antagonists, the villains, or the rivals. And this show had that. This show had the whole shebang, if you will. You want to talk about villains, standard villains? You're talking about Draken and Shigo, two of the most popular out of there. In fact, not one episode, from what I understand, not one episode with Shigo and Draken was ever below a low rating. Every episode was high. It was ever a high rating, from what I understand. As a matter of fact, it was one of their episodes at the beginning of the third season, one of the episodes they were involved in during the beginning of the third season, that got voted number one. You see, I guess it was a bit of a countdown to the the Drama movie, that they did a Kim Possible marathon with the top 10 episodes voted on by the fans. And the second episode from season 3, which was called Emotion Sickness, was voted number one. And that, of course, involves Shigo and Draken. And again, you can't go wrong with those kind of two characters. And that was, and the thing is, usually you have villains that are not on equal terms, if you will, when it comes to personality and agility and so on. Basically matching, the good guy, the good girl, the hero, and the heroes move for move, personality for personality. And Disney accomplished that with this show, with the villains of Draken and Shigo. They accomplished that. Because you had Draken compliment Ron as his rival, if you will, and you had Shigo compliment Kim as hers, which was pretty cool. I know I said that again, but I can't help it. That's how good this show was. That's how good it was. Of course, you had other villains in there. You had villains like Monkey Fist. You had this Scotsman guy here. I can't think of his name. It was whose primary weapon was golf or something like that. You had some one-shot villains like this lady who, I guess, became infatuated with Monkey Fist, and he ended up turning into a statue because of this and whatever. You had the shape-shifting villainess, and you had all your one-shot, sometimes two-shot villain characters making appearances. But, none of them, if you want to look at, like I said, villain characters that could be like rivals, ever match wit for wit, personality for personality, agility for agility, so on and so forth. Like you had the whole Shigo-Kim rivalry, Draken-Ronstoppable rivalry. Now, of course, Shigo wasn't the only antagonist for Kim. She wasn't. See, Shigo wasn't just the only one. There was another antagonist to Kim, and that was in school. And that was another thing I liked about the show. They actually showed that Kim and Ron didn't just have to deal with problems outside of school, like on missions with Drago and Shigo and all that, but they also had to deal with this, problems in school. And they had to deal with antagonists and rivals in school just as they did out. And for Kim, her rival was Bonnie Rockrider, a stuck-up girl who basically wanted to do whatever it took to prove she was better than Kim. She would start rumors, she would say this, she would try that, and sometimes it would be to her advantage, and sometimes it would go blow up in her face. And there were times that she would have to, I think a few occasions, she had to team up with Kim once or twice or something like that. I can't really remember. But that was the unique perspective, that, characters like Kim had rivals and antagonists both on the inside and on the outside. And of course, like I said earlier, you have the families. There's one episode which was based around Mother's Day, where you had Kim Kim was actually assisted or helped by her mom because Ron had to stay home and help his mom during Mother's Day by help his mom on Mother's Day by cleaning out the garage. So that was unique. That was kind of a fun episode in itself. Because you get to, I guess in a way, you get to find out exactly where Kim got her puppy dog pouting face from. She gets it from her mom. I mean, and that was kind of like, oh, Kim's getting a taste of her own medicine. And that was another thing, too, about the character of Kim Possible. She had this unique ability to do the puppy dog look, and nobody, not even Shigo, could resist it. That was a fun aspect I liked about the character. I mean, in fact, there was one scene in Stitch in Time where she's sitting in Bueno Nacho, if you will, with Monique. And she suddenly gets the idea, maybe I can get somebody to help me, somebody to take Ron's place, Ace on a mission with me, kind of help me on a mission. And when Monique's thinking, oh, wait a minute, you don't mean me, I can't do that, she gives her the puppy dog look, the puppy dog pout, and the one thing that Monique says is, you're puppy dog pouting now, aren't you? And Kim's trying to play it off, and Monique's uncovering her eyes slowly, and it's like, oh, she's like, oh, you got me. So, again, that was a unique trait of the character. Overall, this show definitely lived up to all the expectations, if not far exceeded those expectations. I mean, it's the only show to actually have two Disney Channel original animated films. Yes, some will say that this doesn't really count because it's more of a movie that's kind of like time travel, that doesn't, the time travel situation, and after it's all said and done, doesn't really have an effect on the continuity. And that, and why people say this is actually the first original movie, which is So the Drama. It actually has that distinction, but it does have the distinction, I think a lot of fans know it, of being the first to have not one, but two animated films directly on Disney Channel. Now, the thing about Kim Possible, when it comes to the second film, So the Drama, is that was originally supposed to be the finale. But because it got such high ratings, and the executives at Disney Channel said, hey, we want more, and apparently that was not just because of the ratings, but because fans obviously wanted to see more, they got it, and they got what they wanted. And I'm pretty sure the creators of the show we got these episodes already set up and everything, ready to go just in case. And I feel that's what happened. They had the episodes ready to go. They were just like, okay, we'll just have them sitting here just ready to go in case. And if not, we'll have them like a lost season or something. But they had them ready to go. And it was a great way to kind of bring this, like I said earlier, the show full circle, because you had the characters go from freshman to senior and graduation. And then that's where this one comes in, because this was actually a 44-minute movie finale called Graduation, which was very, very good. Overall, though, Kim Possible is definitely a show that you have to check out. Both first two seasons are on DVD. Check them out. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for watching the Cartoon Flashback, and I'll talk to you all later.